what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ahnenerbe Hour featuring the Paranormies. I'm Johnny Monoxide. Here with me tonight, I have Hazard McRee and Adam Haight. What's up, guys?
Yo. What's going on?
Oh, not much, dude. Just, just doing that whole working thing. Man, I wish I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, the life of the wage cuck is suffering. I know. Yeah. I started my new job today.
Did you? Another new job. What's this one?
Fucking making subs. But, it's
it's a job.
Yep. Need to get my ass back into school, but, who fucking doesn't these days?
Right. Adam, you're still working on that project?
Oh, yeah. The secret one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boss has been out lately, so, productivity has hit about 0.
Nice.
Are you doing super secret experiments, or in reality are you just shitposting a lot?
Oh, it's the super duper secret.
Ooh.
No, I've been shitposting the whole lab. It's been pretty funny, actually.
Nice. Oh, I mean, shitposting is important.
Yeah, we were sitting around today, talking about nothing to do with work, and someone was just like, "Man, it was a really bad idea for the bosses to leave."
Well, when the fuck isn't it? I mean, you have to have a really dedicated fucking crew that practically, loves the boss like they're their own father. Otherwise, the second they're out of sight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll be back on track. It's only been a couple days, so. But yeah, otherwise I've been great. Been doing some hiking.
Cool. Getting out and seeing nature.
Get in shape for any upcoming happenings.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling there will be many.
I know,
many happenings.
Hell, tonight alone. Woo!
Yeah, we've had some happenings tonight. Today's an interesting day overall. Started off, just your regular day, and then I got home and the entire internet went nuts. It was kind of crazy. There's mentions of the alt-right all over the internet.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It is.
A bunch of different sites got name dropped directly on CNN.
Our good friends over at therightstuff.biz, we'll give them a little shout out.
Yep. And unfortunately, it was evidently the one day that our occasional guest, Lawrence Murray, did not have an article up front page. He missed his chance to be quoted in the New York Times and on CNN.
Oh,
I have no doubt
the meme magic didn't work with him that time. Oosh.
Sad.
Just imagine, if the timing would have been a little bit better, he could have had his article on esoteric Kekism up on the front page to be displayed on CNN.
Speaking of which, check out Lawrence Murray's article on esoteric Kekism.
It's good stuff.
It's a good one.
It's good stuff. I love his articles anyways, but that one's one of my absolute favorites, and it's his newest one, right? He just wrote that the other day. It was great.
I think he might have written something since then. He pumps out one article a fucking day or something, which
it's got 100 and 120 topics. Puts out 2-3 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. He's got a lot of free time.
Which is interesting considering he's a wage cook. But anyways, we digress, guys.
What do we got on the menu today?
We have on the menu today, we are going to be talking about some not necessarily paranormal spoopy stuff, but what would you call it, Hazard, as instead of actual paranormal?
Well, I mean, when you take a look at the actual definition, we're still dealing with the occult. We're dealing with the hidden.
That's true. That is true. We're going to talk about the Cold War and some of the tie-ins with the espionage community and some other cool shit to go along with that. Those of you who don't know, I'm pretty sure everybody does, but the Cold War was the war that followed World War II. It was the inactive war. It was cold because there was no actual fighting between the two sides, even though there were, major regional wars known as proxy wars, supported by the two sides. And the two sides were the Soviet Union and the United States, the two superpowers who defeated Germany in World War II.
Speaking of proxy wars, while we're on that, I think the one everybody would be the most familiar with was when the Soviet Union was giving weapons and training to the Taliban, and, all of the stuff that spiraled out of that as a result.
Yes. Technically speaking, the Taliban didn't exist until the 90s, but yeah, they were just called the Mujahideen at the time. But yeah, it was the same.
Did you push your glasses up and adjust your bow tie while saying that?
I pushed my glasses up.
Okay, just checking.
Did you tip your fedora while pushing your glasses up?
Oh no, it's on the hat rack with the others.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I forgot. You've got your tinfoil on. You got to do the swap out.
Well, yeah.
So, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union had a lot. I mean, there was a lot of diplomatic and military and economic things that went on, but we're gonna get into the espionage side of things, and and when you talk about the United States, you talk about Russia. Excuse me, it wasn't just Russia; it was the entire Soviet Union, and that's when you're talking about the CIA, the KGB. You're talking about big time spy stuff, and we all know that spies have all kinds of cool toys and crazy things that go on, and
amazing adventures.
Yeah, definitely amazing adventures. But Hazard, you have some stuff you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, one of the things that made the Cold War so notable is, like any war, you always have massive development and advancement of various technologies. And the Cold War was where we really started to see the first of what would become to be known as passive bugs.
I'm sorry, say again, passive what?
Passive bugs.
Oh, bugs.
Okay. Oh, like spiders and stuff? Like flies?
No, intelligence bugs, microphones, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Up until that point, bugging was a commonplace practice, at least in the spy world, and all sides did it. But it was fairly easy to be able to detect them. You have certain apparatuses and certain devices that can detect an electrical current. So if you have something you're worried might be broadcasting a signal, you just, run one of these devices over it. Okay, we've found something that's powered inside there. Let's crack it open and see what it is. Well, the first passive bug happened to be created during the Cold War. And that was alternately known as the Thing or the Great Seal Bug. And
the
what
Thing?
That was is... Huh?
They call it the Thing.
Yes, the Thing, and it was also known as the Great Seal Bug.
Okay. The Great Seal Bug. You're talking about the Great Seal, like as in the Great Seal of the United States?
Yup.
Huh.
On the 4th of August, 1945, the Vladimir Lenin All-Union Pioneer Organization, they gave a hand-carved replica of the Great Seal to U.S. Ambassador Averell Harriman. It was immediately after World War II, when technically we were supposed to be still friends with this country, but I guess they saw things a little bit further into the future than we did at the time, because it had a listening device inside. It was a bit, and, of course, this is a gift. This is, something very noticeable, something that, somebody might ask about if it wasn't displayed or anything. So it hung in a prominent place. What happened was...
Sorry, so it was a gift given from the U.S. to the USSR?
No, from the Soviets to us.
Oh. It's Russian bastards?
Yeah.
Sneaky commie bastards.
I think we might... What do we call... Commie Jew Fox?
Commie?
But what made this thing really notable is, like I said, it managed to evade detection by all methods of bug detection we had up to that point because it had no power source of its own. Essentially, it had a membrane, and anytime the Soviets thought that there was going to be a conversation in the vicinity of the bug, they did what was known as illuminating it, which means they broadcast a very powerful radio signal towards where they knew the passive bug was. Now, this radio signal essentially powered it. It had a very large membrane inside that, when sound passed over the membrane, it caused electrical fluctuations, which the illuminating signal, it altered the illuminating signal ever so slightly that was passing through the entire device. I mean, it's a pretty basic explanation, but it's more or less how the thing works. And we only discovered it purely by fucking chance. We had no idea that such a thing was possible. It basically, from what I've heard, somebody was fucking around with a radio, and they accidentally tuned it to the frequency that the illuminated signal came through on, and all of a sudden they heard a clandestine conversation going on in an office in English and realized, oh, Jesus Christ, we have a problem here.
Do you know how long it took to discover that?
Close to 7 years after 3 ambassadors had been in that posting and had conversations in front of that thing.
So the compromise was, basically couldn't get worse. If they, you'd have to personally tell all the spies all your secrets basically to get any worse than that.
I mean, luckily this was still, an ambassador's office, so while there was sensitive information being discussed there, it wasn't like top-level military secrets or anything, but still...
Still bad enough, though.
In a war like the Cold War, that was a monstrous advantage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
Well, the Cold War was basically... That was what it was all about, was just, constantly trying to one-up the other side without being found out.
Yeah, the funniest thing about the whole the thing is the fact that when we discovered it, we didn't tell the Russians we'd discovered it. We had a replica of the seal made and put back into place, but then, obviously they eventually noticed that they weren't picking it up. But, we didn't tell them anything, so they couldn't get confirmation if maybe one of the internal components had broken or we discovered it. They never really knew.
They knew something was wrong, but they just didn't know what.
Yeah. 8 years after its discovery, though, on May 1st, 1960, the Soviets shot down one of our U-2 spy planes over their airspace. And the Soviets convened a meeting...
Oh, and they shot down one of the spy planes? Is that what it said?
Yep.
Did it sound... When it went down, did it sound anything like this?
I guess it just might have sounded something like that.
Did it sound like that? All right.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
It sounds like somebody getting killed with a prop plane.
Yeah, well, this was a jet plane, but, I imagine there was some screaming. But they called a meeting of the UNSC, not United Naval Space Command, fuck off Halo fans, the United Nations...
Hold on a second, what did you fuck off what?
Halo fans.
Oh, Halo fans. Uh-oh.
Starting
fights. Hazard starting fights.
Yeah.
But anyways, they called a meeting of the United Nations Security Council and accused the Americans of spying. And, they tried to be very prim, very proper. How dare the Americans spy on us? We've been playing nice and fair. And we let it drag on for 4 days before we literally just brought the bug in front of them, and we're just like, anything you'd like to tell us about this? Because, this bug was kind of there for 7 years.
Yeah, well, and nobody noticed it, though.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing to just pull out to where, it's... you basically pull out the smoking gun, and what can they really say at that point?
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I'm pretty sure Eisenhower was president at the time, good old Ike. And I remember learning in my history class that Eisenhower, made up a whole bunch of stuff to try and cover it up and act like it wasn't a spy plane. But we never learned that it turns out that they've been spying on us for 7 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of an embarrassing, humiliating thing that nobody really wanted to acknowledge.
Right.
I mean, you pretty much, given the way, things immediately soured after 1945, trusting any gifts that they gave you right before the relationship took a turn for the worse, not exactly the best of things. I mean, your ex-girlfriend buys you a bottle of fancy liquor, or your girlfriend buys you a bottle of fancy liquor, and then immediately afterwards smashes all your stuff on the way out as she's leaving you. Do you trust the bottle of liquor?
Yeah. No, that's
yes.
Right. So, wow. So
yeah, I would definitely taste it. just to make sure, as a prank, I would taste it as a prank.
Yeah. Well,
Of course.
So the Cold War spying, I mean, it got real hot and heavy, and the action started almost immediately after World War II, basically.
Almost immediately, yeah.
You could say that. You could say that, and I mean, some of the tactics they had, even the spies didn't know what they were.
Oh, seriously.
I mean,
that's fascinating.
I think they have a series of doctrines about that, Adam?
Oh, some rules maybe about what kind of things spies should or shouldn't do.
Shouldn't, could, or couldn't.
Like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, so Moscow was the capital of the USSR, and obviously that would be a hotspot for espionage because if important things are going to be happening, it's a good chance they're at least going to talk about it in Moscow.
Right, yeah.
So obviously the United States sent a lot of spies out to Moscow, but the USSR was also really, really good at finding U.S. spies. And let me tell you, if there was any government that you do not want to be caught as a spy by, you don't want to get caught by the Soviets.
I mean, there's a reason, there's a reason that, poison pills, cyanide capsules inside of fake teeth, there is a good reason those sort of things existed.
Yeah, cyanide poisoning is pretty painful, but compared to what the Soviets would do to you, that's like a massage with a happy ending.
Weren't the Soviets... Okay, there was hostages taken at one point, and the Soviets said, oh, really? Well, we have one of your guys.
Are we talking about the ones where the kebabs took hostages?
Yeah, the kebabs took hostages, and then the Russians
took hostages, and the Soviets told them, okay, knock it the fuck off, release the hostages.
Yeah.
And
they said, yeah, whatever. So then they took a hostage, right? And started sending him back in pieces.
Oh, no. No, it was a lot nastier than that.
Oh.
They tracked down who the kebab terrorists were that had taken their people. They tracked down and kidnapped all of their families. The leader who had beheaded the Russian hostage, they beheaded his son, sent him his son's head in a box, and said, if you don't release the hostages immediately, we're going to kill all of your family.
That's the one, yeah. They sent a head back. That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
The Soviets don't fucking play, dude. They don't play. Yeah. And we're worried about, you can't waterboard people. That's just mean. Are you fucking kidding me?
Nobody dies in waterboarding.
Right. Waterboarding sounds like a lot of fun if you think about it. Dude, you want to go waterboarding this weekend? Fuck yeah, I want to go waterboarding this weekend. Right? I mean, that sounds like some total Chad shit right there. We're going waterboarding this weekend, bro. Yeah, right. Exactly. I've been waterboarded. It's not fun. But compared to what the Soviets did to people, waterboarding is literally fun.
Which would you rather do again? Waterboarding or get run through the helo dunker again?
Hold on, what was choice B?
Helo dunker again.
The Helo Dunker.
Didn't they run you through that? Where they have the simulator of what to do if you're in a helicopter that goes down in water?
Oh, yeah, we didn't call... Okay, yeah. Sears School sucked. Let's just say that. in general. Sears School sucked from A to B all the way, or A to Z all the way around. Waterboarding. I would say waterboarding.
Go through waterboarding again.
I would go through waterboarding again before we did, the helicopter dunk. Fuck that. That was, no. That was colder, and you're fully dressed, and you're wearing, you've got like a 50-pound ruck on, and no.
And drowning.
Waterboarding, you're just...
Simulated drowning or drowning.
Right, exactly. Neither of which are a good way to go. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the Soviets. Waterboarding was nothing. These people literally cut people's heads off and sent them back, and so those were not people to be fucked with.
Mm-hmm. So there, you had to be careful if you were a spy in Moscow, because your life could be made hell very quickly. So there were some rules that the spies developed, and it's like whether they were ever really written down or like officially handed out or whatever, like that doesn't really matter. Like people knew them, and a lot of it's kind of common sense. So according to the International Spy Museum in Washington D.C., so this is only what they're willing to tell you. The Moscow rules are as given. 1. Assume nothing. That's pretty good. No expectations, no disappointments.
That should be a good rule for anybody in general.
Yeah. Assume nothing. That way you can't be taken by surprise.
Okay.
Well, relatively speaking. So 2, never go against your gut. And that's just general good life advice. If you haven't learned to trust your gut, start paying attention. Because your subconscious will pick up on things that your conscious can rationalize away.
Yep. If that little voice in the back of your head is telling you something ain't right, well, something probably ain't fucking right.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
3, everyone is potentially under opposition control. So, trust nobody, not even yourself.
Sleepers.
4, don't look back. You are never completely alone. So, anywhere you go, you're probably being followed. And if you start looking around, then that's a serious, really easy tell that you're suspicious.
You're doing something you're not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. 5, go with the flow. Blend in. It's a little vague, but
Stick
when
to
in
crowds, go with the motion.
I get that.
Yeah. 6, vary your pattern and stay within your cover. So don't become predictable, and don't stick your head out when you don't need to. Real easy way to lose it. 7, lull them into a sense of complacency. If you can make them think you're predictable, and then that way, you can take them by surprise.
Speaking of lulling them into a complacency, I have a story about this. I read about a CIA operative who was being followed by the Czech secret police, and when he realized he was being followed, he'd already had a set routine, sort of a habit, that he did and whatever. Like, he drove the babysitter home the same time, the same way, 5 days a week, whatever. He went and got his hair cut on the same day and the same time every week. And after a few months, he realized that the police weren't following him during those very routine times. So he was able to change it up and do, like, some super secret squirrel stuff while they weren't around.
Yeah, half the thing you have to realize is, wasn't it the entire espionage conflict, what was it they called it, the Great Game?
So that was a different historical event between, like, Britain and Russia.
But it was still spies, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
that was MI5 in the KGB, I believe you're talking about?
Oh, I mean, like competition between the British and Russian empires, but I think I might have just overplayed my autism cards.
I think you totally overplayed your autism cards right there.
You have to realize that, say you discover the enemy has an asset in your territory.
Mm-hmm.
What do? The knee-jerk reaction is, okay, capture him, kill him, whatever the fuck. But here's the thing. If you do that, your enemy is going to send another agent, and he's not going to place him in the same position. So what you can do is you can attempt to use that asset against the enemy. Track his motions. Outclass him. And give him bad information to send back to his host government.
Espionage is the world's largest game of chess.
It really is. It's true.
It's a strategy. It's a real strategy game.
It's 1488D chess.
Whoa.
That's
There's
a lot
white
of D.
kids involved? All right, so we are so way off topic, but on the same topic, sort of.
That's
well, yeah, but that's it.
No, you talked about the bug, right? It was the thing. We did the thing.
We're still doing the Moscow rules.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we're still on the Moscow rules?
Yeah, well, we had a story to show her. So.
Oh, that's right. So we're on rule 6.
I just did 7, lulled them into a sense of complacency. Because,
Okay,
I mean, everybody involved in espionage, you got to remember, they're human.
Right.
Anyway, so 8, don't harass the opposition. Because that's a obvious tip-off. And, there's a lot more you can accomplish as a fly on the wall than a mosquito in someone's ear, In terms of picking up info.
Good analogy. I like it.
Yeah. 9, pick the time and place for action. Right, so you got to consider the context of what you're doing, and make a plan accordingly. Don't just do stuff without thinking about when or where you need to do it.
What rule was
10,
that one again?
Oh, 9?
Yeah, okay. He didn't
Oh,
say
yeah.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so anyway, so number 10, keep your options open. So kind of as a counterpoint to 9 is, even if you make a plan, be willing to change it up, or if you, go to a meeting or you try and track someone and you find out that they're going somewhere you've never seen or they're meeting someone you don't know, always... Yeah, or change things up if it seems appropriate.
You get your cover blown, you're fucking useless. And probably worse than dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably true, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't blow your own cover.
The list is kind of a lot of common sense, but it's also stuff that you should really constantly keep in mind.
Is it really common sense, or is it common sense because we know spy movies and this is what spies should do? I mean, like in the beginning, like just think about it for a second. Espionage in general, right, is a pretty. That's like one of the most occult things there is. It's all secret. Everything's, it's secret, top secret, super top secret, Zulu clearance. I mean, like,
oh yeah,
people's bosses don't know what some of these people. You know what I mean? There's certain things that people have. Level. It's the occult. It is the occult.
It is the unknown.
It's the unknown. It's hidden. Everything they do is hidden. Everything they do is secret. Whether it's the KGB, the CIA, MI6, whoever it is, the Mossad, whatever these top secret agencies, and all that. Recently came out of the Cold War, but espionage isn't a new thing, right?
And even more. With other, esoteric or occult stuff, it's hidden because it's sort of knowledge that is wanted to be kept secret for like spiritual purposes a lot of the time. But you got to consider in espionage, like there's people's lives on the line.
Right.
So the incentive to remain, hidden and unseen is way, way higher because like people will die or worse.
Mm-hmm. People or, like your whole country could die. If your information gets out there or whatever. But like I said, but espionage is not a new thing. It's been around since probably the beginning
before the Romans.
Before the Romans. I mean, I recall stories about spies going into cities in like the Old Testament.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, the Israelites. Are you kidding me? The 12 spies that went into Jericho and they chanted, they went around the city and they chanted and the walls came down. If that's not some occult fucking super secret shit. You know?
Yeah, snugging and cast a spell.
Right. Well, yeah, and now you're talking the old... Stop. But yeah, 4,000 years ago. So that's... Because it's 2016 now. It's the current year. And the Old Testament was written what? Yeah. The Old Testament was written 15, 18, 2,000 years before.
Yeah.
Right? So you're looking at almost 4,000 years ago. These people were practicing espionage where, like, they went into cities and lived amongst the other people and tried to pick up on their secrets and stuff with their government, what they were doing, probably economic stuff, whatever. That's what, spying's always been about, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a profession as old as time.
So you're saying the Kings was spies?
Wait! You were saying we was spies and shit?
We was spies and shit. But for real, but like for real though.
Yeah, this one actually happened.
This actually happened. Yeah, I mean, it's their book. They
was spies.
We actually was spies. Yeah, there's stories. It's in the Bible. They sent the Israelites sent 12, and the word is spies into the city. And they spied upon whoever the fucking king was at the time. I don't remember, but there's
probably Moshe,
right? No, it was Joshua and Jacob and I don't know, but but that's spying. Okay, anyways, we're getting off, but that's still on the occult topic.
Yeah,
and they chanted and brought down walls around a city, so they had sound weaponry.
yeah, they were the fucking Sonic Marines.
They were was that a Warhammer thing?
Yes.
Did I make? Look at that! Me making references to things I don't know anything about.
Oops.
No, it was a good one. It actually worked.
But we've talked about the Moscow rules are all about U.S. spies in Moscow in particular, since that was where most of our assets ended up, dying or fucking worse because they got careless.
Right.
What about the reverse? What about what do we know about KGB and commie spies in the U.S.?
Oh, jeez. I'm sure everybody
commie spies in the U.S. You mean
Joe McCarthy?
Oh.
Let us first say McCarthy did nothing wrong, and McCarthy was right.
McCarthy was right about everything.
McCarthy was not wrong about anything. I have absolutely zero doubt and don't care what anybody else has to say on the topic. McCarthy did absolutely nothing wrong. He was 100% correct. And, yeah.
Since we are making the assumption, though, that our listeners who could, be laypersons in this area know who McCarthy is and what we're talking about. So why don't we give an explanation of what exactly the situation was? I mean, this time period is what, the 1960s. You've got everybody worried about going to nuclear war with Russia, the Red Menace, the Red Scare, communism spreading along the world. We haven't quite gone into Vietnam yet.
Communism was spreading around the world, wasn't it? Like,
it was.
Right after World War II, communism pretty much took over Eastern Europe. Right?
Yeah. Communism. But I mean, that's a whole other can of worms.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so just to give a little bit of background, so Joseph McCarthy, Senator Joseph McCarthy, he was a Wisconsin senator, probably Republican. I don't know. Yeah, he was not. Yeah, he was a Republican after World War II. So he. I'm sure most of our listeners have heard of this thing called McCarthyism. They were probably taught about it in history class, and what they were probably taught in high school was that McCarthyism was an evil, awful, what's the word they have? Like, it's like what they call like blood libel and stuff. It's like a canard. It's awful canard against communism. So, basically they said it was made up.
Wait a second, who calls blood libel?
Oh, yeah. The Jews, obviously.
Right. Okay, just making sure we're all talking about the same thing.
So the idea was that Joseph McCarthy said that he had a list. And on this list were 108 names of people in the State Department who were either communists or sympathetic to communism, known as pinkos, where they weren't totally red, but they had some sympathy, like pink, kind of red. And he went out into the House of Representatives, I think, he was a senator. So, he was talking to Congress. He basically said, I have this list of people, and we need to do something about it. It's really serious because the United States government has been compromised by communism, which a lot of people today don't realize just how serious the threat that communism has posed to Western civilization throughout history, especially when the USSR was a world superpower.
So you're one of those that are of the belief.
This funny little thing where it's like, oh, they just have different ideas. It was like, no, these people actually want to destroy absolutely everything that is good in the world and that you care about. Like everything you love about your way of life, they want to destroy it. So he had this list of 108 people, and there was an enormous smear campaign come out against him. Basically,
who came out against McCarthy?
A lot of communists.
Right, but mostly who?
Oh, I'm sure they were Jews.
Well, no, it was mostly Hollywood.
Same difference.
He went into Hollywood.
Yeah.
I was going to do it differently, Hazard. Yes. You skipped a whole point and a half. But yeah. McCarthy's list, he brought out a bunch of names from Hollywood because they were making pro-communist and communist sympathizing type movie plots, and so he also went into Hollywood and was like, these people are communists and these people are communists and these people are communists and these people are communists, and over and over and over, every single time, every name seemed to have like a certain like a certain ring to it, like almost as if when you said it, you could hear it a couple of times afterwards,
Something like.
And the best part, the worst part about the entirety thing with McCarthy's list is that they kept demanding that, he published this list, and he said he would not publish the list unless they did it in a closed Senate hearing, because he wanted to be absolutely certain. He didn't want to expose these people and have the risk that he was wrong about any of them.
Right.
Because, obviously he says, I've got the name of 108 communists in the State Department. If it's in an open session, it's going to immediately be blasted. And there was a time when in the United States, if you were asked the question, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Right. Those
were damning words.
Yeah, your life was basically over, and for good reason.
Well, for good reason, exactly, because the Communist Party is 100% opposed to the American way of life. Not just the government, but like America.
Like
it doesn't belong.
Rest assured.
Yeah,
they hate you.
Yeah. So those of you who are communists and think it's cool to be a commie in America, you're wrong.
Stick your head in a fucking oven and
you're so wrong. You're so wrong. Yeah.
So
go to Venezuela if you want to go where it's communist. Anyway,
1950, I think, was the initial year when he came out, and he said he had this list. And then the smear campaign came out against him and everything.
And that came directly out of Hollywood, pretty much.
Yeah.
The smear campaign, all the money to try to get rid of him.
So, interestingly, in 1950, a certain someone named Alger Hiss was convicted of perjury in 1950. And a lot of people have heard of Joseph McCarthy from their high school class where they were told lies. And this thing, like, you can look up all the people that McCarthy accused. Like, I'm sure the list has been published, and the FBI, of course.
He was fucking right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and this evidence wasn't released until like kind of recently. There's like 5,000 pages the FBI released regarding like this sort of thing. Just Google around. You can find this stuff. Like, it's not a thing where it was like, oh, these people were probably communists or whatever. Like, he had real evidence that they were communists. But anyway, so Alger Hiss, if you've heard of McCarthy, there's a good chance that you probably haven't heard of Alger Hiss, except in the context of people apologizing for him and, like being apologists, that is to say.
Right.
So Alger Hiss is really important because he was a member of the Communist Party. In fact, he was a communist spy. And now that doesn't seem very, like that much of a big deal considering the era. But the problem is that Alger Hiss very well could have been Secretary of State. Right. That's how high up in the State Department that he was. It wasn't just like some dude like Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. They weren't just like...
Right. Hold on. Julius and Ethel who?
Rosenberg! We'll get those two oven dodgers soon.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't there one member of the Communist Party that was situated at such a high point in the American political structure that conceivably 2 or 3 assassinations could have left him as president?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Alger Hiss was one of them. Oh, president?
He could have for Secretary of State. It would have taken a few assassinations, but yeah.
And considering the times, like the USSR would have tried. Like, it's not unreasonable for them to have tried.
That's not an unreasonable sort of a thing that they wouldn't have done. According to the history we've been told, because Russia was trying to get us, right? They were trying to get all of our secrets, and we were trying to get all theirs, and we both had nuclear weapons, so that's why. Right. I don't fucking know. I mean...
The secrets of how to fucking make vodka out of rotting potatoes and Olga's toenails?
I don't know. They had nukes, man. During the Cold War, there was submarines. There was Russian submarines off the coast of California, man.
Let's finish up with the McCarthyism because I have a bone to pick with the Rosenbergs.
So, Alger Hiss was finally outed on perjury charges. What he said, he said that he was not a member of the Communist Party and never had been. Like he was asked that, and he said that he wasn't a communist. He perjured himself, and he was convicted for that. But the point is, the espionage was so effective and ran so deep that they were able to get into the State Department and almost become like. Can you even fathom having the greatest existential threat to your nation, to your way of life, to like everything, become basically a president or become the Secretary of State? Like imagine if. I can't even think of a comparison to make today. That's how
how the left is going to feel when Donald Trump wins.
Yeah. But even worse because Donald Trump doesn't actually want to like murder everybody.
That's true.
And completely destroy our way of life. Like he's actually
no, but he wants to completely destroy the left's way of life.
Wants it to thrive.
We do, anyways.
So Whittaker Chambers wrote a really good book called Witness. That it's an autobiography, but he talks about his experiences in he was a communist, and he was a communist spy, I believe.
What did he do
who was
here?
in the State Department and knew Alger Hiss and everything, and he was, I think, a key witness in the case.
Huh.
But you should. I recommend anybody go check out that book
The
because
Witness?
it's a really interesting insight into like how communists behave, how they think, what kind of people they are, like what their motivations were, and it's really well written. It's a powerful book. I would definitely recommend anybody.
I've heard of it before. I've heard good things about it.
I'll have to check it out.
So
Add it to
yeah,
the list
the
of books I haven't read
espionage
yet.
in the United States was like not superficial. It was existentially threatening.
Yes, and speaking of existential threats, how about giving away the most destructive weapon that mankind has ever devised?
Take it away.
How does that sound for an existential threat?
It's pretty bad.
Doesn't get much worse than that.
Doesn't really. Yeah, I can't. I have been thinking, and I can't come up with anything.
See, we can agree on certain things. We can agree that more likely than not, the Soviet Union would have eventually developed nuclear weapons on their own. It was one of those things where by
Okay.
the time, the cat had already been let out of the bag.
Okay, hang
people
on,
were starting
Hazard.
having-
Guys, just for the record, we're at just about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So what do we want to do? Do we want to take a
Oh,
break?
do you mean like take a music break and then come back and lay the
Yeah.
smack down on some Rosenbergs?
Yeah, you guys want to do that?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
All
I don't
right,
even
leave,
think I don't even think we're going to cut this part out. So it'll just be some shit posting right before the song that's going to happen right about now.
The horizon is ruby, the glass laden wind carries us to forever as it pierces the skin of our city, our crisis city. We're a martyr to progress, ghosts in our skin, no sense of awareness as the venom sets in to our city, our crisis city. Our hearts are cast into the fire. Our souls are offered to the flame. A delicate system, now poison array, left a sick incubation for the wasps of decay. This is a city, a crisis city. It's not about victims and how high they reign. What use is sympathy to a deep unmarked brain? It's a city, a crisis city. Our hearts are cast into the fire. Our souls are offered to the flame. cast into the fire. Our souls are offered to the flame. Our hearts are cast into the fire. Our souls are offered to the flame. This is our city, across the city.
Ah, you guys like that? Little Spy Hunter music for you?
Spy Hunter, man.
The old
Great
good shit.
fucking game.
It was one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of those, like a take on a James Bond, Car Wars sort of. Yeah, anyways. So yeah, spies.
Speaking of hunting spies, at the end of a spy hunt, you know, you've got some caught spies, and you got to figure out something to do with that. And as we all know, there's really only one solution here. To be honest, fam, when you've got somebody that's been convicted of treason, you gotta
Damn
fucking
right.
kill them.
Execution.
So, we're talking about two people who happen to have a certain type of surname, and they seem to have a stereotypical long nose, beady eyes.
Sweaty.
Yes. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg are the two individuals we're talking about.
Ethel
They are
Rosenberg.
the only two, well, at least any time this century, the only two American civilians to be executed for treason.
They were executed,
For
though.
good reason. They got it off easy.
Yes. These people are the reason why the Soviets had nuclear weapons as early as they did. These people gave the secret of how to make the atomic bomb to the Soviet Union. This isn't the Soviet Union in its latter days where it was still scary as hell, but, you know, at least somewhat more amenable and amicable. This is the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. A man who was single-handedly responsible for more death, misery, and suffering than any other individual in the whole of human history.
Hold
And
up.
they
Hold up.
gave
Hold
him
up.
the
Hold up.
nuclear weapons.
Hold on. You say that Joseph Stalin is responsible for more human deaths than anybody in the history of the world?
Yes.
More than Hitler.
Far more than Hitler.
So,
It's worse than Hitler.
wait a second. Hold on a second. Are you saying that America's buddy Uncle Joe was worse than Hitler?
Oh, quite a bit worse.
All right, that's what I was just making sure. you
Bit
were saying
worse. Let's see.
that. So these people gave that person not just the codes, but
Yeah.
how to make the bomb.
Yes, they gave him information. They passed to the USSR about the creation of nuclear weapons. Let's see. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, you know, it was a married couple, and they acted as both couriers and recruiters for the Soviets. So they passed information along, and they recruited new members into the Communist Party.
So just to, be clear, it's not that they were just, pinkos or communist sympathizers. These guys
Were actual
spies.
communist spies.
They
Yes.
were working for the USSR.
Yes.
And they
Not
were
just commie
in.
Jew fucks, but official commie Jew fucks.
Official commie Jew fucks.
Okay,
And it wasn't
question.
just nuclear weapons they gave over.
Oh my god.
You got a question, Johnny?
Yeah. What positions did they hold in the government?
What positions did they hold in the government?
To where they
see.
were able to come by said secrets.
They weren't actually in the government. However, Julius was an electrical engineer, and Ethel was a secretary.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
So, Okay. So they like worked at the power plant or not power plant, but
The nuclear facility or whatever.
yeah, some kind of facility.
They did not directly steal the information, but it was confirmed that they knew what the information they were passing on was. They knew full well that they were giving nuclear secrets to the USSR. Which I don't like. I don't even give a fuck if it's nuclear. You give weapons technology to an enemy, you die. The end.
Absolutely.
End.
I mean, the fact that they were just executed is like that. That doesn't even make me feel better. That that all they did, that they only had to die for that.
Yeah. The thing is, he
Do you guys know about?
Rosenberg Julius worked for the Army Signal Corps engineering laboratories at Fort Monmouth, and some of the stuff he worked on was electronics, communications, radar, and guided missile controls. He provided thousands of top secret classified reports from Emerson Radio to the USSR. And you remember that Gary Powers U-2 plane that was shot down in 1960?
Who's playing?
Gary Powers, the U-2 pilot whose plane was shot down in 1960.
Okay.
The one we talked about earlier. Well, the missile that shot down his plane used an upgraded model of a fuse that was given to the Soviets by Julius Rosenberg.
Good grief!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tommy Jew fuck.
So,
They were both
Unbelievable.
have you guys ever heard of George Koval?
No, I haven't.
He actually infiltrated the Manhattan Project.
Oh, what? Does he echo?
By the time George, the son of a Jewish immigrant from Belarus, was in high school
Every fucking time.
in Sioux City, Indiana, he was already speaking openly in favor of communism as an alternative to the unregulated capitalism of the 1920s. Disenchanted with the American dream as the Great Depression worsened, the Koval family moved to Russia. His family was written up in the American Communist newspaper as a true success story, escaping the cruel uncertainties of life in the United States in favor of the good life in Russia.
Good fucking life. Actually, I know a little bit about Lee Harvey Oswald, who did something similar.
Really?
But anyway, so let's finish up with Julius and Ethel Rosenberg.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. They were commie Jew fucks that were.
Oh. Well, then, yeah,
were
this is the
fucking
guy.
Executed on June 19th, 1953. And unfortunately, evidently, some fucking law regarding to treason didn't apply to them for some reason because they were actually allowed to be buried in fucking U.S. soil.
Oh. Oh,
Well,
come on.
You know, Wellwood Cemetery in Suffolk County, New York. I'm not saying anybody should do anything, but if you're in the neighborhood and want a good grave to shit on,
I wonder if the anti-defamation
So-
League defends them. Probably.
oh no, New York just recently literally held
Oh,
a
man.
festival for Ethel Rosenberg because something. A literal fucking
Serious?
comic. Yeah, oh, I'm dead fucking serious. Let's look this up real quick because
my
I didn't think we
God.
were to go into. Hold up. We them guys.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that this guy, the Jewish guy from Belarus, was even drafted by the United States Army during World War II. And so he was a Russian Jew who grew up and went to school in Russia as a communist and then came back because he was still a citizen because they moved to Russia from here. So he was still a citizen technically. So he registered for the draft. He served in the army. He got other people advanced, other friends of his, other communist friends of his. He actually went to City College of New York, and he got some sort of degree, and then was recruited into the special engineer attachment of the army. I'm sorry, which played a role in the Manhattan Project, and then he turned all that information that he got over to the Soviets, and they actually detonated their first bomb about a year and a half or 2 years earlier than the United States had actually estimated because of this guy.
Just how, like,
It was like we knew, like you were saying, Hazard, we
ubiquitous.
knew they were going to be able to have the bomb, but this guy was the guy. I guess maybe this guy may have worked with the Rosenbergs. I mean, it's possible since he was involved with the early detonation of the first Soviet atomic weapon.
And here it is. Let's see. What's the exact date where this happened? Let's see. I believe it was September 30th of the last current year, 2015. New York City honored Ethel Rosenberg for her great bravery.
So they're actually, the city of New York is honoring the bravery of a fucking communist.
not just a communist who was
But a
convicted
communist
of
who-
treason.
Convicted of treason and executed for it.
Well, let me tell you, I wasn't expecting to get rustled tonight.
But how you jimmies? How are your jimmies, Adam?
Oh,
They've
They
been
are-
nuclearly annihilated.
yeah, nuclear rustling.
A nuclear rustling.
We're at nuclear over Russell. It's the current fucking year, and we have to look at somebody who is responsible for handing over nuclear weapons to a regime that killed over 100 million people. They gave them nukes, and wow,
Including at least
so
66
brave.
million of their own people.
So
Like, they killed their own
fucking
people
brave.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you gotta, I really want to stress to the listener just how ubiquitous the communist infiltration of not just Soviet officers, but just the communist ideology, which in my opinion is an ideological cancer. If you want to understand communism, and I really, really think that you should, go read Witness by Whittaker Chambers and go read Culture of Critique by Dr. Kevin MacDonald. And you will understand just how serious the threat of communism is and has been.
These days you hear, Red Scare, the Red Menace, or, you play something that kind of pokes fun at it, like the Fallout series, and you don't realize, from a modern perspective, you don't realize just what a threat this was.
It was not just a silly little thing.
No, it was a real thing, a very scary thing. They were going to take over our government and make us.
They did.
Communist.
They were in the State Department.
Well, they
Altruist could have become Secretary of State.
Yeah. Well, who's to say they've left?
That's the thing. If you think that it's just all over now, or that communist ideology hasn't evolved in some way, that you got the fucking Frankfurt School, and the legacy of academic infiltration and media infiltration. I mean, the list goes on and
by
on.
communists. Yes, they're leftists.
But you know, you were talking about that George guy, the Belarusian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was a communist and went
George
to live
Koval.
in
George
Russia.
Koval, yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald, the guy who was accused of assassinating JFK, which I personally don't think that he killed JFK. I think he was probably involved somehow. I'm not totally convinced that he pulled the trigger.
There's
But anyway,
enough on JFK to where we can and probably should go a whole episode on that.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. But Lee Harvey Oswald, interestingly, so he was a communist. Well, first of all, he was a weirdo. He was enlisted in, I believe, it's been a while since I read this stuff. Pretty sure he served in Korea or Vietnam. No. I'm sorry. Right. The point is, he was a radar operator. And he actually, kind of a fun fact, he knew about a lot of the spying in China when it was going on, because him and the other radar crew watched the planes fly over, and eventually figured out from the direction they were going that they were going and spying on part of China. So that's really interesting. But Lee Harvey Oswald was a communist. He was a total weirdo. He tried to renounce his citizenship. He wrote, I think, a letter to the State Department or an embassy or something where he basically just said he was going to do it. He didn't actually do any paperwork or anything like that. But then he went to Cuba and just begged until they let him go to the USSR because he thought it was basically a paradise out there. That's another thing a lot of people don't realize. It was a lot easier to do propaganda because the internet didn't exist. And so a lot of people didn't realize how horrible it was in the USSR, and they would just get a lot of propaganda coming over talking about how it's this egalitarian paradise and
The workers' paradise.
The workers,
Yeah,
yeah,
workers'
everybody's
paradise.
equal. Nobody's better than anybody,
except there was all this surplus and all that stuff.
To each their needs, and from each their means.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a paradise from the propaganda that they got. So he really wanted to go over there. And so this guy, I mean, obvious red flags. He's trying to renounce citizenship. He's declaring that communism is the greatest thing ever. This guy shouldn't be allowed in the country.
From what I've read, about 5 weeks before JFK's assassination, he went in for a meeting with some Soviet sympathizers, set a loaded gun on the table, and was like, I can't take any more of this. Get me back to Russia. And one of them just, reached over, took the gun, unloaded it, handed it back, and said, there's nothing we can do for you. And then 5 weeks later, JFK was assassinated. It's really weird, all the stuff surrounding it and leading up to it.
Yeah, and then, after he was arrested, Jack Ruby went and murdered him on live television.
Right. Because that's how it happened.
Yeah, but, by the way, Jack Rubenstein, sorry.
Right.
Anyway, so he went to the Soviet Union. Lee Harvey Oswald moved to the Soviet Union, and I'm pretty sure he got citizenship there. And he thought it was going to be he was kind of a narcissist. He thought he was going to be this really awesome dude in the community, and everyone was going to love how enthusiastic he was. He was kind of like a weeaboos, where they think everyone in Japan is a otaku, and they think that everyone over there watches anime and sits in their mom's basement all the time. That was kind of what he thought about the USSR. And he got there, and he wasn't very happy because he realized that it sucked. Didn't give up on the communism. He ended up marrying this woman who was the daughter of, I think, a security officer or military officer. Again, I should have fact-checked this stuff, but...
Implying we do show prep.
Yeah.
There was some show prep done.
So,
We still do more than The Daily Show ever does.
Whoa. Well, anyway. So, that's kind of weird, right? So this guy goes over, he marries the daughter of, military or security officer, and then decides to come back to the U.S. I think his mom wanted him to come back, something like that. And you got to think, okay, so this guy tried to renounce his citizenship and then wanted to leave. He shouldn't be allowed back legally without reapplying for citizenship at the very least. Of course, now that he's married to a Soviet officer, or the daughter of a Soviet officer, that's kind of a security risk to let him back in. Like,
Right.
you know, that doesn't really seem very smart, but they did. And there was this, it's really odd. They had this sort of thing where they were like, oh, well, he didn't technically renounce his citizenship because he didn't go file the proper paperwork and all this stuff. And he was just kind of really mopey and, like, kind of pathetic. So I think they sort of took pity on him and let him come back into the United States. And he was down around New Orleans for a while, working with, like, I think some Cuban communists. Like, it's all over the place.
It's red flags all over the goddamn
Wow.
place. And then
But
we
the
get-
problem
Wow, this is a lot. I've never heard any of this stuff about him.
Yeah,
This is
I mean,
all
it's
new.
like I could just go on.
This
and
is all
on
new
about
shit.
The
How-
weird stories
On that
I've
episode.
heard about Lee Harvey Oswald.
That you. Okay.
I swear,
Yeah,
I
honestly-
think the most common phrase on this show is, but that's another episode.
That's gonna be. That'll be.
point is,
That'll be
like-
on the hat. Paranormies. Well, that's for another episode. On the back.
Well,
Yeah.
I like it.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Somebody get on that.
but
Anyways, so you were
Lee
saying.
Harvey Oswald was also like, he was also kind of like so incompetent, from my opinion, based on what I know about him, that like he was kind of a threat. Like I mean, on principle, I think he shouldn't be allowed back in the country. You know, whatever. But it's just a bunch of
how
really
the fuck did
weird
this bumbling
stories.
Idiot managed to blow the president's brains out.
Yeah, he was kind of a, like, I would not describe Lee Harvey Oswald as competent. But
So you don't think that his, however long in boot camp, was long enough to teach him how to use a rifle that well?
well, if people go back on Ford, I mean, like I said, that's another episode. But
It's another couple episodes. Actually. If we're only going to go an hour and a half.
anyway, yeah. So that's my fun facts about Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. And then he got murdered on live
I think
TV.
it just goes to show how, like, espionage can be some of the most creative and interesting and, like, ingenious things you could ever imagine, but it also can just be, like, completely retarded.
Yeah.
Right?
Speaking of completely retarded and espionage, boy, do I have a story about that for you guys. Have you ever heard of a little project called Acoustic Kitty?
I have not,
What?
but you're. Hold on a second. You need to sound better, really quick.
Have you ever heard of a project called Acoustic Kitty?
That's better. Okay.
Oh, it's one of those indie rock music projects out in San Francisco, right?
No.
I doubt that
No.
it
It's a comedy group, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what's Acoustic Kitty.
Acoustic Kitty was a project by the Central Intelligence Agency. There were a couple of Russian, both sides kept diplomatic embassies in the other's capitals, to maintain communication channels, etc.
Right.
We had fucking, American ambassadors in Moscow. They had Russian ambassadors in fucking.
Can I
in
just say
Washington,
something
DC.
real quick? Can I just say something real quick before we get too far away from this?
What?
The Cold War. This is what year are we talking about now? When you're the story you're about to tell about what year?
1960s.
Okay, so 1960s, the middle of the Cold War. Somehow, we were allowed to have a consulate in their capital. They're allowed to have a consulate in our capital. We're bitter enemies, and yet somehow neither of us would automatically suspect the others were spying. I mean, like, it's literally,
Right?
it's
a
literally
4D chess.
yeah, no, it's not. How is that even? That's not even 4D. That's like not even 2D. Okay, so bad guy wants to put his
yes,
thing.
they're going to spot.
Yeah, they're gonna put up a building with their people in our capital city, and we're gonna do the same thing to them. And neither of us is gonna think the other one's spying.
It's a gentleman's agreement.
Right. Right. It just doesn't make any sense.
Shit,
Not to spy on
that
you.
They broke before it fucking started with that seal.
Well, well, sometimes, I mean, it just doesn't seem like any of it makes any sense, you know? Like, I don't know. But
It was basically just a lot of teleporting behind each other.
yeah. There's a lot of katanas being unzipped.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So anyways, there were a pair of Russian officials, ambassadors, that every day they would go out to a particular bench in a park, you know, nice, and it was out of the way of anything, you know, no buildings nearby, anywhere, you know, nice open area where anybody that got close would be very obvious. And they talk business there. So we wanted to know what they were talking about there. So we had to come up with a method of eavesdropping on them there. And, you know, obviously, they checked the bench, they checked the immediate area around for any sort of bugs, listening devices, etc. So we had to get one in there somehow, discreetly. So the Project Acoustic Kitty was dreamed up. And Acoustic Kitty is as stupid as it sounds. They took a cat, put microphones inside of its ears, ran a wire down its spine, an antenna down its tail, and a radio transmitter into its gut. Sewed it back up, and then started training it.
Poor cat. Like, I don't even like cats, and that's mean.
Fuck cats.
No, fuck cats, but, like, that's mean, dude. Like,
Oh, I'd fuck a cat
I know,
girl.
and while we're on the subject
girl's
of
a whole
cats,
different story.
I'm just going to give a shout out to Freelance Autiste of the TRS forums and Slug_2 of the podcast. This hour has 88 minutes. Fuck both of your cats. You're both faggots for owning cats. The forum debate has been settled. Anyways,
whoa.
they spent between the planning stages of this project constructing mock-ups of the park to train this cat, a separate procedure devised to make sure the cat would not get hungry, which I believe involved some sort of neurosurgery on the amygdala. Just monstrously complex. They had this cat wired up, ready to go. They let the cat out. It started to cross the street to go towards this park bench to complete its mission, and was run over by a fucking taxi. Total amount spent on Project Acoustic Kitty, $10 million.
In the 1960s.
Uh-huh.
Imagine explaining that to your boss. Like, you watch it get run over, and you're like,
No, that's when you go get another. No, you go get another cat, and you pretend you're Neo from the Matrix, and you're like, "No, I'm sure it's the same cat.
yeah.
It's not
Don't know
deja
what
vu.
happened.
It's the same cat." You got to convince your boss. I don't know why it's not doing the thing. No, 10 million. You don't tell your boss.
Yeah. You just quit. You
You just
never
get
go
another
up
cat that looks just like it, and you're like, I don't know why it's not doing the thing. I don't know. It was doing the thing
taxi
earlier,
must have been driven by an enemy operative.
right?
You detain the taxi driver and you beat him to death trying to extract information.
Right
Because,
there, you
frankly,
Khrushchev
that's better
him
than
right there with your
telling
own
your
shoe.
boss that-
You take off your shoe phone, and you because it's 1960s, and right, and that's when all the spies had their right. The phone was the
They all
shoe.
had shoe
The
phones.
shoe was the phone, and you beat the guy to death Khrushchev style with your shoe phone. That's what you do when he runs your cat over.
And you tell your boss, we're sorry. We tried to get it, but he was too tough. He wouldn't crack, and he died in the interrogation. And then that's how you write off $10 million in a dead cat.
These were American scientists too, right? American KGB or not KGB, but CIA or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
It's the CIA that did this.
They calculated for everything but a fucking taxi.
Hold on, this was CIA though, right?
Yes.
Oh my god,
Dr. Pavel.
right?
Was it a big taxi?
For
For you.
Well, for the cat.
For the cat, at least, yeah. So the CIA spent $10 million in 1960 to spy on Russians in a park.
And just
And it got run over by a taxi.
And the CIA is supposedly the group that was founded by members of the Skull and Bones Society from Yale. So, and George Bush was the director of the CIA, who was from
I
the
don't
Skull
know.
and Bones Society.
Maybe this is like the wing of the CIA where they send people's stupid children. Just like, here's a weird project. Go do this and don't embarrass us.
Right? That's how.
Oops.
That's where some of them become
$10
CIA
million,
agents.
Jill.
Well, some of them become CIA agents, and some of them become like Adam Sandler. You know. My kid thinks he's funny. Here, go do the thing for him. You know, yeah. So, or, you know, whatever. The spies that do the stupid shit. I don't know. That's $10 million for a cat to listen to two people in a park.
Well,
That was the best they could come up with, was a cat.
yeah, right.
No,
If that was the one, if that was the
that was the one that
if
they
that was the
wanted to
project-
spend $10 million on.
right, if that's the one they spent $10 million on, I want to see some of the ones that didn't make it. Like, you know what I mean? I want to hear some of these. I want to hear some of these like they tried to sell to like the director. Okay, sir, check it out. Here's what we're gonna do. You know, the one that won was, all right. Check it out. We're gonna take this cat, and we're gonna stick a wire from the tip of its tail through its ass all the way up its ears. Are you paying attention? No, seriously. This is we're gonna get these commie Jew fucks. It's the cat. I mean, like, I don't.
And that was the one that they said.
And that was
"All
the
right,
one that
do
they
it."
said yes to. Like, what could they have possibly said no to?
Project Acoustic Goldfish.
Right?
Yeah.
Somehow we have to get them to come by this koi pond every day. Like, I don't.
No, you see, we're going to tell them that we're making it nicer for them, and we're going to put a koi pond right in front of their favorite lunch spot.
I don't know. But so that was the CIA's deal. So have the KGB, have they ever done anything stupid that you know about? Like that weird?
Honestly, they tended to keep their
besides-
fuck ups on better lockdown because pretty much they killed anybody that fucked up.
I don't know if that's really a better strategy.
Well, I mean, you know, it teaches you not to fuck up. You don't make the same mistake twice, or any mistakes twice, really.
Well, you're not allowed to because you're dead.
Exactly.
That's true. Never had repeated mistakes.
No.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
out of.
Stalin
So
had
once,
everybody-
shame
Stalin
on
had
me.
everybody scared so fucking shitless of him that when he had a stroke and was just lying face down on his desks, his guards left him there for like 3.5, 4 hours before they summoned medical attention because they were fucking terrified that if they went in to check on him, he was going to pull out a pistol and execute them for leaving post.
Who's
They
this?
thought he was just fucking with them. Stalin.
Oh, Stalin.
Stalin was in his office, sitting at his desk, and had a stroke, dropped face down onto his desk, and the guards outside his door stayed at their post for like another 3.5, 4 hours because they were terrified it was a trick, and if they went to check on him, he'd killed them for deserting their posts. Because evidently he liked to fuck with people like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's almost like if you create like institutions that, you know, promote like paranoid psychopaths, you end up with a paranoid psychopath as the head of it.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Are you saying something about, you know, communism and its roots and the sort of people that create communism?
No.
I mean,
No.
you're starting to sound kind of I don't know.
Nah.
No.
That's crazy.
Stop. That's just too.
anti-Semitic remarks.
Right? So we're talking
Well, we've
about.
had a hell of an episode so far.
I think we have.
This was good.
Yeah.
Talked about all kinds of cool stuff. Soviet
Right.
spying, U.S. spying,
Everybody's internet's
Well, there
starting to go
is-
shitty.
spying.
Johnny
Communist
mentioned it
spying.
earlier.
And everybody's
He
internet's
mentioned-
starting to go shitty.
Johnny mentioned something earlier. Sleeper agents. We're going to be covering some stuff about that next episode, but let's give a little bit of a teaser. What, in your words, is a sleeper agent, Johnny?
Oh, hold on. What are we doing for the next episode?
We're going to be doing MK Ultra.
Oh, we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna do MK Ultra next episode. Well, sleeper is someone who has been programmed to do something, who doesn't know they've been programmed to do that thing until, well, not necessarily always this way, but until that there's a trigger that sets it off, or they're just a covert, clandestine unit, behind enemy lines, operating within another system. So,
Yep.
There's a couple different
And-
definitions.
Yeah, what MK Ultra was, and we'll figure out what the KGB equivalent was, because you can be damn sure that they were trying to do some of the same stuff. Was MK Ultra was the CIA's experiments and looks into basically how you could brainwash and control people.
Mm-hmm.
And it encompassed a lot of fucked up shit. But
It
that
did.
is for the next episode.
That's for the next episode. Yeah, we're gonna do that next time. Yeah, this was cool. I like this. I like spy stuff. I like talking about that kind of shit. It's always fun, and like I said, it's been happening for a long, long time. People have been
Yep.
spying for millennia, and it's always been clandestine units of people that do stuff in secret, and that's what spying's all about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it
Sounds right to me.
Clandestine groups in secret. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yep. A lot of them do a lot of. I mean, I've heard stuff about MI6 and MI5, and even the original, John D. He was a wizard who was the head of the Queen's Secret Service at the time, who was also a legit wizard.
That's the laundry, the Special Operations Division, the SOD.
I don't know, but he was the first secret
I've heard
agent
that.
for the
I've
Queen,
actually heard that.
Queen Elizabeth I, and
SOG, Special Operations Group.
Okay, he was one. Okay, yeah, but he was the original 007, but he was also a legit wizard and was into alchemy and all that kind of shit too, transmogrification and.
I have heard that.
Yeah. So spies,
Wow.
and yeah, they've got a lot of really occult and what people would consider magic roots and backgrounds.
I mean, we've covered the mundane aspects of spycraft and
Right.
espionage.
We could get into
could
the occult.
definitely-
We definitely
What about
need to get into
MK?
the occult side of espionage. That'd be cool. Yeah. That's what MK Ultra. It definitely. I mean, there's a lot of, especially now with what MK Ultra turned into and what they're using. We'll talk about that next week.
All this and more.
Yeah. All this and more on the Ahnenerbe Hour. Featuring the Paranormies, man. I'm Johnny Monoxide with Hazard McRee and Adam Haight. We're going to take you guys out
And
with...
we again forgot to shill our fucking Twitter.
I didn't forget. You made me think no, we forgot. Hazard, what's the Twitter?
Twitter is at _Paranormies. And we can be reached at our email at paranormiespresent@gmail.com. And those will both be in the description.
Right on.
Well, all right.
Whoosh, well, all right. So from here, we'll take it out with another creepypasta. Anybody else got anything they want to say for this week?
No, that's about it.
All right.
McCarthy did nothing wrong.
Oh yeah, Joseph McCarthy did nothing wrong.
Joseph McCarthy did nothing wrong. I concur. Take it easy, folks. We'll see you next week.
I have always been uneasy driving alone at night. It was worse the first few times, when I had just gotten my license, but the nagging fear has never gone away to this day. It's disorienting to look into the mirrors and see nothing, and I mean nothing, but the consuming blackness of the night. It makes me hesitant to check the mirrors, should I see this dark void, or worse, someone sitting in my back seat staring at me. In the summer of 2013, I found myself driving home alone on Highway 902 from a party. It was almost midnight, and needless to say, it was pitch black. As was usual at night, I was on edge. I had the radio off and could hear nothing but the muffled roar of tires on pavement and the dull hum of the engine. I stole a glance into the middle rearview mirror and saw nothing but darkness through the back window. I know that I looked backward and saw nothing. I'm sure of it. Just the seemingly endless blackness of the night. I remember it so clearly because not 10 seconds later, a car passed me to the left, headlights on. I had one of those sudden adrenaline rushes, like when you think you see a person outside your bedroom window when it's just a tree, or when you start awake at night with the feeling of falling. 10 seconds earlier, nothing had been behind me. Suddenly, a car. I drove all the way home, shivering and knowing something was off. The next morning, I found 2 sets of scratches near the back of my van. One was on the left rear, one was on the right. The car was pretty old. They could have been there for months, but that was the first time that I distinctly remembered seeing them. In hindsight, there are 2 possibilities for what happened that night. Possibility 1. By some glitch in reality, or something paranormal, this other car had somehow appeared behind me within 10 seconds of me checking my mirror, like some weird ghost crap or something. However, the second option is what makes my blood run cold whenever I consider it. It didn't even occur to me until months after the fact, but it makes me dread driving alone at night even more. Possibility 2. The car was normal. It had approached me from the rear and passed me to my left. However, something large and wide and as black as the night had been clinging to the rear of my car, obscuring my view through the window and leaving deep scratches on the sides. And I had inadvertently driven it home with me.